I'm Megan. I cover the East US region. Thank you for having us here today. Stacia and I are going to do our best to mimic Kara and Sarah and our fearless leader Dawn as best we can. So today's playdate is on connectivity. So what is connectivity and why is it so awesome? This, of course, refers to the ability of hearing aids to interact with other devices. Why is this important and awesome? I feel like in my 11-year career of being an audiologist, it's not always been this way or this easy. So hearing aids used to just be hearing aids, and now there's so much more than that. So we're here today to chat with you about what have things been looking like? What do things look like right now? And what might things look like in the future? This right here, this is not a rhetorical question. Why is it important to understand connectivity technology? Why is this important for what you do in your role or in anything in regards to pediatric audiology? All right. Heck yes, at Oticon, we love data, we love evidence. A couple of pieces of data to call out that you probably see every day, whether it's your human children that you might have, or your students, or your patients. 95% of US teens have access to a smartphone. And on average, the age of acquiring the first smartphone is around 11 and a half years of age. This is data. We're not asking people's opinions or thoughts or feelings on that, but this is just the data. So we go off of data. And it's super important, again, to be able to stream, to access an app. A few of you ladies already called that out when I just probed the audience for some reasons why all of this is so important. So it's important boots on the ground, and it's important, and the data shows it. I love this slide. So I'm just taking a little bite of this presentation today before I pass it off to my colleague. But this right here is my favorite slide of the few that I'm presenting. So why is this important for pediatric hearing care professionals to know? Access to education. The kids need to be able to connect because of microphones, because there's technology in the classrooms. We need them supported for academics. We need them to be all right with connecting from their devices to whatever is happening in the classroom so they have the same equal access as their peers. We love that. Social inclusion and independence. Having an app for these patients and students, oh, when I was clinical and just seeing like oh, I can change that. I can adjust volume. I can do this. The autonomy that they're able to have when we can find ways to connect hearing aids to smartphones or other personal devices that they have really helps our patients and students feel like they're in control of their own hearing experience, which is awesome. This one right here, cognitive and language development. I think this is my favorite, and I'll tell you why in a second. Consistent, high quality sound is vital for speech, language, and cognitive growth. I feel like this might seem out of place for a connectivity conversation, but when you think about how much connectivity is happening, that signal has to sound awesome. That signal has to sound great. So the microphone signal from the teacher with the mic to the patient, the student's hearing aids, or if students are getting classroom instruction through a certain app or through a certain program, that streaming has to sound great. So I'm excited for Stacia to talk about that in a few minutes, about how we really prioritize high quality sound for connectivity and streaming. Supporting families and caregivers. Parents and caregivers, sometimes they have a hard time getting their kids to appointments. They just want this all to be easy, and so do we. So we want to make sure that you feel comfortable knowing how to pair and sync and troubleshoot for all of these devices, because parents need that help, caregivers need that help. And that really leads quite well into keeping up with the youth. Teens these days have grown up in a digital age. We have to keep up, not only with the jargon, the new jargon that they're saying and all the new cool words and phrases that I have no idea what they're saying anymore and what it all means, but that's okay. You just show up and you do what you can, but keeping up with the youth, sometimes they're going to be able to do this on their own, but they might say, what if I do it this way and how to do it that way? And what if I connect it to this gaming system or this, that, or the other? It's really important because kids and teens are doing it all. We have got a wide range of connectivity options at Oticon. I'm not going to talk about every single one of these, but really what I want to focus on now is just, if you look to the left of these Intent BT or Mini Right hearing aids, our companion app, we've got an awesome app. It's got solid reviews. The people like it. If you have questions on it, reach out to your account manager, and we would love to be able to review this with you in more detail at another time. We've got our microphones on here. Something that I should draw your attention to on the far right, on the bottom, is the Easy LE adapter. That is compatible with Intent devices, and it facilitates an LE audio signal if one is not available from that streaming source. Again, we'll put like a little pin in this because I think Stacia will talk a little bit more about LE audio and what that really means. And lastly, the couple other options here, TV adapter, dongle, and phone adapter. Really, when we zoom out, yes, we're Oticon Peds and we focus on patients age 0 to 21, but Oticon focuses on patients 0 to 150. So we really want to make sure that we're offering connectivity across the lifespan. Looking at all of these options that you've got, we need to stay on top of connecting. With that, I'm going to kick it over to Stacia now so she can get into some more nitty-gritty.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And we are going to have some time for questions at the end. So I will do a little bit of where we've been with connectivity, where we're going with connectivity, introduce you to Auracast, and then we'll kick it over to our guest speaker, Jason Ruda, to talk about his Auracast technology, and then we'll end with some questions. We've already started the alphabet soup. The acronyms are flying, LE, BT, all of these. So let's take a step back and really understand where we've been from a Bluetooth perspective, where we're at currently, and some of the really exciting things that our students and patients with hearing loss are able to do, and in terms of connectivity because of this more modern connectivity. There exist two different Bluetooth wireless protocols, and many of you may not have known this. We just think Bluetooth is Bluetooth, and then we're stuck wondering, why can't I connect my Oticon Play PXs to this Motorola flip phone, for example? Why is it that some things connect? Why isn't Bluetooth just Bluetooth? That is because within what we consider Bluetooth, the colloquial term, there are actually two different protocols, Bluetooth Classic and Bluetooth Low Energy. And this is speaking two different languages when we're talking about technology. And so that is why you will sometimes have devices that are not compatible, even though they're both marked as Bluetooth. I'm going to ask for a touch of audience participation. Anyone want to wager a guess as to when Bluetooth Classic, so what we think of as Bluetooth, when did that first become available on the market? And I'll share some of the first things that were done with Bluetooth was, for example, the ability to print. So not have to plug a cord physically into your printer, if that jogs your memory at all. Okay, so we're a couple guesses so far. 2004, 2005, 2001. You guys are definitely in the ballpark. 1999 is when Bluetooth Classic became available. Think about what life looked like in 1999 and what we asked hearing aids to do in 1999 versus the connectivity and the demands that our students and patients with hearing loss have on them today, and the demands that audiologists have on them to make sure that they can connect kids in all the ways they want to. Oticon has never utilized Bluetooth Classic in our hearing technology. Instead, Bluetooth Low Energy, which came out in 2010, is the Bluetooth protocol that Oticon has consistently used. Some of the benefits of Bluetooth Low Energy is that it sleeps between transmission times. So a big barrier with Bluetooth Classic is it's a power hog. It is always on, always draining that patient's battery. And so the benefits of Bluetooth Energy, it sleeps between the transmission times. It has a very fast connection time and goes back to sleep as soon as that connection's been made. And data is being transmitted in much smaller packets of data. Hopefully, you know that the North Star for Oticon Pediatrics is audibility and helping patients hear better, particularly in difficult listening environments. That takes up a lot of battery power to be able to do that in the very sophisticated way Oticon does it. We didn't want to sacrifice any of that for Bluetooth connectivity, which is why we're really excited to use Bluetooth Low Energy because of these many benefits so that our patients can get the best of both worlds, both that audibility, that access in complex environments, as well as this really modern connectivity profile. And you can see here the many ways that we are using Bluetooth Low Energy within our technology. You absolutely do not need to commit this to memory, besides maybe taking a look at the different colors, because those different colors will follow us onto the next slide. So within the kind of umbrella that is Bluetooth Low Energy, we are using an open protocol to be able to connect with your Link wireless, to operate the companion app, and use a more basic remote control. Bluetooth Low Energy is used to communicate in a proprietary way with the Edge mic, our digital modulation microphone. And then you can see the connect clip there as well. For our patients with Apple phones, we're able to do made for iPhone technology, both for streaming and two-way hands-free calling, as well as data sharing with the companion app. And then for our listeners with Android devices, we are using the Bluetooth ASHA protocol, which is audio streaming for hearing aids. So not our American Speech Language Hearing Association, but we are using that Bluetooth ASHA protocol for direct streaming for some Android devices, but more and more we're using Bluetooth LE audio, which enables two-way hands-free communication as well too. And so going back to those protocols, we have Bluetooth Classic and Bluetooth Low Energy. And if you had to wager a guess, when kids are getting new phones, new tablets, new computers in 2025, 2026, what Bluetooth protocol do you think is being loaded into those devices? Yeah, I kind of led you with that question, but it's a little bit of a trick question because you can actually have single mode or dual mode devices. So a single mode device would be this phone or this computer has just Bluetooth Classic or has just Bluetooth Low Energy. But you can have a consumer electronic that is a dual mode device. So it is loaded in, able to operate with either Bluetooth Classic or Bluetooth Low Energy. So some really exciting numbers here, because when we have these conversations about Bluetooth Low Energy, and especially about Auracast technology, I tend to hear, yeah, but how many years off is that? We're so far away from that. I'm not seeing that in my neighborhood. And so I love this next graph because it really shows you like it's here. Those devices are absolutely here. So this is taking a look at Bluetooth enabled devices. So think about all of the technology that our kids are walking around with, from phones and tablets and computers and listening devices, and it's taking a look at what sort of mode of Bluetooth is built into those. So you can see the very bottom and along the x-axis, you have the years from 2024 out to projected 2029. On the y-axis, you have the number of devices in billions. So that 8 up top there is 8 billion with a B. So you can see at the very bottom in that pink, those are devices that are shipping out with just Bluetooth Classic. So overwhelmingly the minority of our consumer electronics these days, and definitely as we move towards the future. You can see that middle column would be that Bluetooth dual mode, having both Bluetooth LE and Bluetooth Classic. And then along the top, you can see Bluetooth LE. So if you look at that graph and kind of the trends over time, what is the one type of Bluetooth that is consistently growing over time? Yeah, Bluetooth LE. And I think it's important to remember a wonderful perk of working with Oticon Pediatrics, your kids, when they get new hearing technology, that's going to come with a 5-year warranty. Most kids wear their hearing devices at least 5 years. So even if you're working with a kid today who may not have a Bluetooth LE or Bluetooth dual mode phone, is that going to be the case in 2031 when that kid is still in warranty? How are the decisions that you're making in the classroom or the clinic today going to have downstream effects in terms of what connectivity and what sort of social participation the student is able to have while they're still wearing that device? And in fact, there is a new requirement from the Federal Communications Commission that 100% of mobile handsets, meaning smartphones, must be compatible with hearing aids and cochlear implants. This is great news for our patients and our families with hearing loss, is that they won't have to go through the kind of investigative work to figure out will it, won't it connect. It will be mandated, more or less. So reviewing the two types of Bluetooth Classic, we said it, 1999. It's from a different century. That is really considered old world technology. There's no further development being put into Bluetooth Classic. The limitations we talked about, it's slower, less stable, high battery consumption, and it really was not designed for hearing aids. Another important thing when we talk about streaming sound quality, Bluetooth Classic is going to be a mono stream. Comparing that with Bluetooth LE audio, which again is going to be available in your Oticon Intent, your Oticon Zeal, and future releases from Oticon. This is really the platform we're moving forward with. That's the benefits of this Bluetooth LE audio. It is considered the platform of the future. The special interest group that has made Bluetooth is continuing to develop this technology. It's fast and reliable, lower battery consumption, really tailored for hearing aids, and that streaming sound quality is stereo. And one of the really exciting parts about having hearing technology or consumer electronics that are using Bluetooth LE audio is that it enables Auracast broadcast audio. If I've been in your school or your clinic recently, you've probably heard my shtick saying, yeah, I feel like that's the audiology buzzword of the day. And it absolutely is one of the audiology hot topics right now. But I tend to find that individuals have different levels of understanding of this technology. If you don't mind, in the chat, just to see if we've got any Auracast experts, could you put a number between 1 and 5 for me? 1 being, I have never heard the word Auracast before. Please teach me everything. 5 being, yeah, I know what it is, and I feel like I could get a student set up with Auracast today. And I have been asking this question pretty consistently for about 6 months or so as I talk about this. The numbers are getting higher. There is more confidence about Auracast, which is really encouraging. And I'm so excited we have Jason here to talk with you about it as well, too. So what is Auracast broadcast audio? I already shared that in order to use this, you must have a device that is using Bluetooth LE audio. So again, this is something that is available to our Intent and our Zeal patients. And I tend to think of it, my kind of colloquial, as I say, this is similar to telecoil, but on steroids and not just for patients with hearing loss. So it is a Bluetooth connectivity platform that is enabled by Bluetooth 5.2, and it is a many-to-one connection. So in the same way an Edge-a-Mic can connect to multiple students in a classroom with Oticon hearing aids, you are able to share an audio with many individuals. So I think about one example being a kid of the 90s, sitting on the school bus and wanting to show a friend a song on my iPod Nano. And I would take one earbud and put it in their ear and didn't care about ear hygiene at that time. And that would be how we would share that. Kids nowadays have AirPods or hearing devices. It is a way that you can share that audio signal with multiple individuals. So a kid on the school bus today would be able to share, hey, I found this really cool new song. Let's listen to it together. Pop that over via Auracast technology. So how can it be used? These are a couple of the really exciting opportunities. The airport is one of them. So we were recently with our director of pediatric research and audiology, Dave Gordy, and he shared with us some of the interviews he's done with teens about streaming and how one individual noted how stressful it was the first time they ever went to an airport without their parents. He indicated that he felt like he was on edge the whole time, watching everyone, nervous that there would be a gate change and he wouldn't hear the announcement. And so one potential application of this is to be able to get those gate announcements, the garbling announcements that they make, delivered right to your hearing devices, your AirPods, concert venues, sports bars, or going to the gym where you've got all those TVs on mute. Wouldn't it be wonderful if you could be able to be running on the treadmill, say, I want to listen to that TV program, type it into your phone, and the audio is going right into your hearing aids or your consumer electronics. Sharing audio with others, so that kind of school bus example. And then I know we have many educational providers in the room. So we think about meeting spaces, classroom spaces. What if we were able to get to a more universal spot where we're not having students' microphones dictated by what manufacturer their hearing aids are, but we could make more decisions or could use this Auracast technology in that way to help support their listening in the classroom space. So to give you an example of what it involves, very similar to when we're talking about how a DM system needs a transmitter and a receiver, that same language applies when we're talking about Auracast as well. An Auracast transmitter in the airport example could be the microphone at the gate. That could be enabled with Auracast technology. And then I would go, I'm headed to the airport after this, actually. If I went up to my gate and I wanted those gate announcements, I could go into my companion app and see a list of available Auracast broadcasts. So they might have one for gate B25 through B27. I would be able to pick my gate, and that would be any gate announcements would be streamed directly to that Auracast receiver, which could be my Oticon Intent or Zeal hearing aids, for example, or maybe some consumer electronic earbuds as well too. And just highlighting here that it is a stereo transmission as well too. And so I wanted to end before I introduce you to Jason, end with some of the numbers too. And I guess one question before I do that is anyone seeing Auracast in their communities? Does anyone have a public venue or place of worship, airport that is utilizing Auracast technology today? I know our colleague Sarah in the West lives in the Denver area. She's been to a couple concert venues that have it available. Some communities are starting to pick it up, but exciting that we've got future projections for you as well too. So more data. We love our data here. It is estimated that by 2029, there will be 3.1 billion Bluetooth devices that are able to act as Auracast assistants to be able to help select. It is estimated there will be 1.5 million public venues that are ready to go with Auracast technology by 2029. So this is absolutely the future that we are going in. I see one kind of question or comment that I'm just going to address because I can just hit back and show you real quick. The Auracast signal or the Auracast symbol is going to be this guy right here with the TM. So in the same way that you can look at public venues that have loop systems and see the kind of big blue ear, this is going to be that Auracast symbol that you may start seeing in public venues. So keep an eye out for it for sure. But with that, I am very excited to introduce Jason. He is with Simeon Audio. He will talk you through his technology, and we are very excited to have him here. Of course, you can tell by Megan and my enthusiasm that we're really excited about Auracast technology and wanted to share his innovations with all of you today.
Thank you, Megan and Stacia. Really appreciate being invited and being a part of this. And I think you both did a wonderful job setting the stage and really explaining the basics, especially between Bluetooth and Auracast. And I got to say, for audiologists, this is an incredible time in your career to be participating in this wave of the future that is now. This is really exciting. You could probably tell, I love talking about Auracast because it's already making such a difference. I'm connected with a lot of, I'll call them enthusiasts, Auracast enthusiasts on social media, but literally from around the world. It is so exciting. And so many of them have hearing aids and cochlear implants, and they talk about the sound quality. And that's really what we have to start with, because that's the whole point. It's all about making speech, live human speech, intelligible. And Auracast does that better than anything. It sounds truly amazing. So Oticon has given me my own pair of intent hearing aids for the purposes of testing Auracast and demonstrations, and I love them because the sound quality is truly amazing. I've enjoyed being able to travel to different conferences recently and let audiologists experience that for themselves, because so many audiologists have not actually even listened to Auracast yet. But the high frequencies, the speech intelligibility is just fantastic. So there's really no doubt in my mind that it is the wave of the future. Auracast is going to displace the older, expensive FM and DM systems. It's going to replace all of that. All of the manufacturer unique technologies will go away because Auracast is worldwide. It's manufacturer agnostic. In a classroom, it won't matter what brand of hearing aid you have or what type of processor for cochlear implants you have. It works seamlessly and will as more and more devices continue to join the Auracast ecosystem. But it's great that Oticon is leading the way in pediatrics, being the first among the pediatric hearing aids to be Auracast enabled, because now these kids can absolutely gain access to Auracast right in their classrooms. At Simeon, we're proud because we're the first to include a classroom sound field system that is Auracast enabled, first in the world. And it's a really exciting moment for us because it combines the gold standard of direct audio to hearing aids and cochlear implants for the top of the line speech intelligibility with all of the other benefits of a sound field system that creates that truly inclusive environment within the classroom. Teachers love it because they're like two talking sticks. And for aided students, they'll often say that it's really hard for them to be able to participate in class discussions. And that breaks my heart because we really do want to create in the classroom a space for inclusion, that they're not afraid to ask a question for fear that somebody else already asked it 2 minutes ago. They don't want to feel stupid asking or making a comment about whatever is being discussed in the classroom because they couldn't hear their classmate from across the room. And so being able to participate in class discussions is so important for aided individuals and implanted individuals. So having the talking sticks or the two pass-around mics is a real game changer. And that's made possible with having a classroom sound field system. And of course, you know it's working because you can hear it. You get instant feedback. So you know that your mic placement when you're contributing to classroom discussions and asking questions, you know that your mic placement is perfect because you can hear your own voice responding. And all three microphones blend seamlessly into the hearing aids. So that's really why our technology at Simeon has always been focused on students with hearing loss, is because we want to be able to model that fully inclusive classroom experience. The portability is nice because you don't have to have it plugged in. You've got a battery that's going to last for the full school day, and teachers love the ability to just take it to the library or the computer lab or the art studio or music room. You can take it outside. It's got a tripod port, so it doesn't have to sit in the grass. It's really built for that modern classroom environment where you do want to be able to take the class to wherever in the school that you can continue the classroom discussion and be able to create that inclusive environment, even if you're outside gym class, for example. And so a student with hearing aids with intents can be able to hear the gym instructor even when they're running around and receive all these same instructions that everybody else is. We truly believe that for a fully inclusive classroom, having a sound field is a game changer. And then to be able to connect that with Auracast to hearing aids. I'm also excited about what Cochlear is doing on the implant side. The Baja 7 is already Auracast enabled. So they've joined Oticon in providing now 2 cohorts of students that are working their way into the classrooms as we speak with the Intent Minis and the Baja 7s. So that's exciting. And my understanding is that Cochlear will probably release the firmware next month. So in April, sometime probably before AAA, for the Nucleus 8 and the Kanso 3. So that's, again, more students that will be able to access an Auracast signal. And so let's combine all of these students in a classroom. Once they're able to connect to Auracast, then you have one device and no cords, no remote mics, nothing else. It's just a clean audio signal through Auracast to whatever device they have. So that's an exciting use case of this Auracast ecosystem in the classroom. Let's talk a little bit about connectivity, because Megan and Stacia also talked about how easy it is to connect to Auracast. So I did the testing with Dave Gordy, who was mentioned already. We got together and we just wanted to time how long it took to connect this pair of Intent Minis to Auracast. And it took us exactly 6 seconds. That included opening up the companion app, choose an Auracast signal. It comes up because Auracast is always on, broadcasting from the Audita. I'm choosing that, and within 1 more second, it's connected, and you get that audio feed directly to the hearing aid. So you can imagine that's something that you're doing at the elementary school level every time they come back from recess. So you don't want to make it difficult to reconnect to the classroom. It's that simple. For students that are too young to have their own phones, my suggestion would be to just have a tablet that's issued by the district, sits on the teacher's desk, or you could mount it on the wall for the older kids that can do it on their own. And that can either run the companion app on either the Apple or the Android ecosystem. What's interesting about Android is it has offered Auracast connectivity directly into the operating system, which is really cool. And we understand that Apple will eventually do that, probably later this year, because we've heard that it's in beta testing. But that's great, because then for students who've never been set up with the companion app by their clinical audiologist, then they can use any Android tablet. The newest ones, we've tested the Galaxy S9, but the S10 and the S11 all have the same functionality within Android to go into the accessibility menu, pair your hearing aids to the Android operating system, and then choose Auracast. This one will come up, and it's that easy to connect even without the companion app, if the student was never connected with the companion app. So connecting to Auracast is ridiculously easy, and it's going to get easier. I'm excited about the idea that Auracast will eventually follow the same development pathway that Bluetooth did. I have a couple of Bluetooth speakers at home, one that I borrowed from my son, who he gets annoyed when I take it from him. But when that speaker is on and I have my phone with me, it automatically connects. So wouldn't it be great, and this is entirely within the realm of possibility, to be able to set up an Auracast broadcast signal as a trusted source, as something you've connected to before, and it'll just automatically connect. There's nothing in the Bluetooth or Auracast specifications that say manufacturers cannot actually build this into their Auracast assisted app, like the companion app. So I do think that over time, in the next year or two, we will see developers start to do this. And I put in a bug into Dave Gordy's ear that to start thinking about some of these great time savers that you could build into the next generation of companion connectivity with Oticon hearing aids. And then it just does it automatically. Really excited about where this is going in the future, but where we're at today, we can use Auracast in the classrooms with the Oticon Intent Minis today, which is amazing. This is the future. It's going to render all of the other technologies obsolete over time. Let's talk a little bit about, though, the messy sort of world that we're going to be in for the next 5 years. Stacia talked about a 5-year cycle of new hearing aids. So let's talk about the hearing aids that have T-coil functionality built in. So those that have T-coil functionality can still use Auracast. And we tested it just a few weeks ago. We took our Simian neck loop, which we've had for years, and we normally use it with our Ranger system, which is an FM system. But we instead plugged it into an off-the-shelf Auracast handheld receiver, the kind that tour guides are now starting to give their patrons for museum tours and so forth. And it works. It'll work. We use the Bet Ear BRTX, but it works with Williams, it works with Listen. It works with all of the manufacturers of Auracast receivers, and they all have an audio input jack. Plug the neck loop into the audio input jack, and boom, it activates the telecoil with Auracast. It's amazing. That's going to completely revolutionize public spaces like theaters. You could use it in an airport for sure if you have T-coils, but in a classroom, that is one connectivity option that leverages Auracast. In the meantime as well, we still have, as we have already, the ability to support the EduMic with acoustic transparency by plugging it into our aux out. So it still does include connectivity with the EduMic. Oh, I didn't show this. So this is the pendant that we wear. Teachers they have the option of a very lightweight pendant. So I mentioned that the Audita 3 is a 3-microphone system. So 2 microphones for the kids, 1 microphone for the teacher. If you're team teaching, you can have multiple teacher pendants because the charging cradle was designed for the adaptability to any choice of microphones that you want. So you could have 2 of one and 1 of the other, or 3 of 3 pendants if you wanted. So it's designed for that type of charging. Okay, let me just stop there and let's see if there's any questions from the chat.
I see one in the chat that might be a little bit more broad. So Kelly asked, is it too soon to ask our school districts when new schools are being built that they will have Auracast systems, including built-in speakers and classroom mics? So I don't know if you've got any thoughts or opinions on that. I only have thoughts and opinions. I have nothing that's evidence-based at this point. So I can punt it to you first, Jason, if you've got any strong feelings.
I would say that the built-in speakers, I think they're fine for students with typical hearing. Sometimes audiologists can get in trouble when they believe that it's suitable for students with hearing loss because they clearly aren't. Even when you're directly underneath those speakers, the ear just isn't designed to accept sound from above us. So usually they're not great from that perspective, but obviously for students with typical hearing, the built-in systems are fine. Any amount of amplification, of course, is a good thing because it just enables all of those benefits, both academically and then just the ease of use for teachers and students to speak and listen to each other. Yes, but that's the great thing about Auracast is because these transmitters, these off-the-shelf transmitters are now available, you don't even have to wait for new schools to be built and then try to build them in. Auracast is literally just plug and play. So in your auditorium, in your gymnasium, in your lunchroom, anywhere where you have audio, you can use these off-the-shelf Auracast transmitters and plug them right in, and they work the same as ours. Obviously, we're the only ones that built it into a portable system, and that was designed specifically because teachers and audiologists love the portability factor. And of course, obviously with unaided students, location in the classroom really matters. So you do want to position it in the classroom where it's going to make the most difference to any unaided students. But yeah, okay.
Yeah, and then Kelly, I might say too that you may be the ones informing schools about Auracast. The world of hearing and the world of audiology, we know we're a little sliver of allied health and living in school settings and whatnot. I might say putting a bug in someone's ear, but oh, no pun intended. Okay. Sharing some information about it. We'll send a summary email the next couple of days. So maybe just sharing some information about it, because if folks don't know, And if I know of certain metro areas in the East US region that when a new school is built, they're getting X system put in their schools. So I have heard of what you're sharing. So it could be that if you're the first one to share what Auracast is, they might be like, oh, okay, tell me a little bit more, which then you could either share more information from like the Auracast page or the Bluetooth special interest groups or some of the information that we've talked about today. Jason, I almost wonder if from like a relativity perspective, if you don't mind sharing the price with the included pieces and your warranty, because I think that might also be something that Kelly or individuals like Kelly might want to share. If this one system is X amount and this is what it offers.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely, Megan. So the whole package for the Audita 3 is $17.90, and that comes with 3 microphones of your choice. And I see, Gene, how many handheld mics? So we're limited to 3 microphones, so 1 for the teacher and then 2 pass-around microphones. It's a 3-microphone system. $17.90. We do have a bag as well because it was designed by an audiologist, and so it's extremely convenient to carry this around and even use it within the bag. And the bag is an extra $42. So that's the complete price of the package. Here's what it looks like when it's in the bag with the shoulder strap, so you can carry 4 of them into the school if you want. Kelly's question, students with hearing aids would have to cast their hearing aids. No, it wouldn't be the hearing aids that would have to cast. Auracast is on from the Audita 3. It's always broadcasting. What you use the companion app to do is connect. So it's acting as an Auracast assistant. So you have the transmitter built into the Audita 3. We have the hearing aids that have the receiver, the Auracast receiver built in, and then the companion app acts as the Auracast assistant. What type of mics and transmitters are needed to stream Auracast other than ours? So there's a bunch that are off the shelf. Bet Ear is one. Williams, everyone I think is familiar with Williams. They have transmitters, which are great. You just literally plug them into your, let's say, your auditorium sound system, and then you're instantly transmitting via Auracast. It really isn't any more complex than that. The range of Auracast for ours is about 200 feet. So it'll probably cover most bathroom breaks. You'll be connected to Auracast even through your bathroom break. And it'll vary. Some Auracast transmitters that are designed for theaters, they might transmit closer to 250 or 300 feet so they can reach the back row.
And to also piggyback off of one of those questions that was what types of mics and transmitters are needed, there also are, again, right now, today in early 2026, there's also something that you could buy even on Amazon or online that is a dongle that could make a transmission Auracast. So there are some offices that are non-peds colleague support where some of the providers for an ENT practice, for example, plug that dongle in the back of the TV in their lobby so that any patients that have Auracast available hearing aids can go ahead and listen to whatever is playing on the television while they wait for their appointment. So there are some things to make it possible. So there's that. You covered the square footage question. Does the receiver come with a transmitter or mic?
The receiver, when we're talking about an Auracast system, if we're talking about students with hearing loss, that is going to be their intent mini BTEs or mini right. Once they have the firmware update, potentially a cochlear N8. There is no extra piece that you as an educational audiologist or clinic audiologist would need to purchase for that student to be able to give them access to Auracast. If their hearing aid or cochlear implant is set up with Bluetooth LE audio and is using a firmware version where it's able to connect, that then gives that student or that patient open access to connect with Auracast broadcasts all over the place.
Yeah, so we do have access to the BTRX receiver. So if a school district wanted to buy a few of those, we can lump them in with our quotes and so forth. They're not that expensive. I don't know what the price is right offhand, but they all generally are right around the same price, and they come in packages like for tour guide systems and stuff like that. In terms of built-in during building construction, Williams does have an off-the-shelf kit for built-in sound systems for classrooms and other types of spaces, and they do have absolutely the ability to make it Auracast. They obviously mostly feature in auditoriums and large professional spaces like that. The square footage, so maybe I'll just talk about that real quick. The Audita 3 was designed, so it's 40 watts of power. It is designed for a classroom of about 30 kids. So it gives you a sense of what it would do, let's say, for an unaided student to provide the hearing accessibility benefit to an unaided student. Obviously, with Auracast, placement doesn't matter. You can set it in the back of the room because they're going to get the dominant signal into their intent, the minis. And so really the benefit of the sound system is so that everybody else can hear it. It's a universal design for learning concept where everyone benefits from the hearing accessibility, even if they have typical hearing and so forth. But really then placement is not important to the student who has intent minis.